Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming to another video. All right, so early in the morning, we're talking about the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 6 is going to be starting right up at 4 o'clock today, Pacific time for Eastern. I think it's 7. And I was reading a very, very good article on the adjustments that the Miami Heat are making. This is where I'm not necessarily very good at, and I have a long way to go for my, in terms of being an analyst. I could tell you, hey, this is what they did. They switched here, they moved him back and moved around. But that's basically what I read. Essentially, that the Miami Heat are using Bam slightly differently defensively against Joel Embiid. They're switching less, and as a result, they're finding themselves in positions to stay true to him. I was reading up on the defensive assignments that the Miami Heat have on Tyrese Maxey, and it's usually best for them when they have Jimmy on Tyrese Maxey. But Jimmy tends to sag off of Tyrese Maxey a little more than he should, and it's going to be on the Philadelphia 76ers to identify that and get Tyrese Maxey in position to shoot when those options when those opportunities arise. So that was something that's really, really, really stood out from the article I just read, and I love that type of analysis. I really do. That type of X's and O's is what I need. Someone who could do that and say, "Yo, okay, this is what I see. Now tell me how it makes sense schematically." So, anyway, that's something that they're doing. And as far as my own observations of Miami Heat and Philadelphia 76ers, this last game I didn't give much attention to because of how spread out the score was. I was a little frustrated that night. I was in a lot of pain, that kind of thing, with the injury that I had going on. So I wasn't really up for the ineptitude on the basketball floor that they were providing 2 nights ago. But all in all, what I really saw was just, this tentative behavior of the Philadelphia starters. A little tentative, a little hesitant, not taking it to the Miami Heat. The Heat not adjusting well to the Heat's defensive adjustments. And, of course, not getting nothing out of the bench that, is really struggling in these playoffs. So I was reading about George Niang. It's the same opinion that I had on him, is that if he's not hitting threes, he's not able to help you. He's not an athletic person to begin with. So having him out there trying to guard wings and players that can really move, you're not going to have a whole lot of success. Where he's able to really help you is working hard, effort stuff that allows him to do what he can do there. But mostly he has his edge when that shot is falling. Now, when he's efficient 4 for 5, that's the type of production you love from him. But other than that, you got to go ahead and sit him down. I think Coach Rivers relies upon him far too much for what they're matched up with. Shake Milton, I'm not seeing nothing out of Shake Milton that makes me believe he should be played anymore in this series, unfortunately. Matisse Thybulle is pretty much useless in this series because you really need him to defend crazy great. And that's not necessarily what's happening. And then he doesn't give you anything offensively. So that he hasn't been played consistently in this series. I don't think he's been used properly in this series. I'd have probably used him as a stretch 5 more so. Not a stretch 5, but a 5, small ball 5 rather, to put a little more defense in position when Joel was not out there. They, instead of running DJ a game 2 or whatever game that was, should have probably went with small ball Matisse and Tobias. But it is what it is. You can't go back and undo what you did. Paul Reed is someone who's played pretty solid in these playoffs. I'm not really sure what his specialty is just yet, but I do know that he contributed to the defensive end of things in the last game and was one of the only people, if not the only person on the Philadelphia 76ers who had a line that was at least worthy of being given a nod to, because everybody else played very poorly for their standards or worse. And the Miami Heat took advantage. As I say, all these teams that I'm seeing in these playoffs, they have their issues on the road, just about all of them. And, the games don't travel. And that's what's really frustrated me about this series. The others in this series, they only play well when the uniform is white, when they're at home and their arena's behind them or whatever. In the NBA, they used to wear white at home, but that's over with. But either way, you know what I'm trying to say. When they're at home, that's when they can hit jump shots. When they're at home, that's when they're aggressive. And it's both of these two teams. They're both anemic on the road. And so I'd expect more of the same, and I expect this thing to be stretched out to a Game 7 because of it. I just didn't see nothing at all from anybody in this series that makes me think they're going to travel on the road and play well. The Heat have struggled on the road. Your Max Struces and, Gabe Vincents and And some of the guys that they use don't really play like that on the road. And they're at home for sure. So I expect more of that to be the case. And if it's not, then the Heat should win. Um, you know, that's it. The Heat should continue to try to crash the glass, do the best they can to try to keep Joel Embiid off the floor. You know, since this is a one-game situation, I would do everything I can to get Joel off the floor. Because really, that's it. Once you remove him from the situation, they're going to have a whole lot of trouble, to say the least. It's a one-game series if I'm Miami. The way I'm looking at it is all I got to do is win tonight. They're going home. So whatever is required to force yourself into an advantageous position should be the way to go. At the end of the day, this is a hobbled team with a bad bench. So if they're not getting a whole lot out of Tyrese Maxey and Harden and Tobias and Joel, chances are they lost. You know, you got players on that bench up and down that they just do not trust. Danny Green's been great in this series, but like Danny Green, he goes super cold. So when you say he's been great, you also realize that he had a 0 for 7 game 2 and another game where he only attempted 4 shots. So it's like, or was it 2 for 10? I don't know. But he does run inconsistently by nature, so you don't know what to expect from him. Fortunately enough for the Sixers, the game is in Philly tonight, and that means you'd expect him to play better. So if Danny Green is himself, he drops like 5 threes tonight. Obviously, you love that for the Sixers, but if he's 1 for 10 or only attempting but so many shots, I don't know that really works in their favor tonight. So, you know, Kyle Lowry is listed as out tonight. That works in the Heat's favor, in my opinion, for this series. They've played great with him. They've played great without him, played horrible with him. I just look at that and just live with it. You know, it's not something that you have to really think too much about. He struggled in this series when he's played, and he's been hurt the whole series. So keep sitting him. Simple, very simple stuff. Let's see. You know, Dwayne Dedmon is somebody I look at a lot, especially in a one-game situation like this. If for some reason Bam is not really getting it done, or if he has to take a seat, if Dwayne Dedmon comes in, gets a couple of offensive rebounds, maybe a block shot here and there, that's the type of stuff you want to see. Little things from big things from players that don't have big roles is a key for a Miami team tonight on the road. I expect the arena to be jumping, and I think James Harden. See, James Harden is the piece for the Philadelphia 76ers that I think can set the tone either way. I thought he set the tone in Game 4 when he started off facilitating properly and then ended the game on a huge run in the fourth quarter when the defense had gotten used to him passing. He was able to attack. It set the defense up real good. And in the last game, instead of trying to set it up the same way, he did the opposite. He was trying to get himself going, shooting the ball, bricking, being inefficient, and then from there trying to find his way after that. That's not a recipe for success. You have too little talent on your team to not be looking for other people early on. You got to get all them going. They got to all feel good about the game, and then you can start finding your shot. That's how you have to pace it. You don't have enough talent around you, James Harden, to be looking for your shot. You just don't. How does that equate in my head? That means if I'm not getting those guys their looks, then they're not going to get going. If they don't get going, the guys I'm going to bring off the bench ain't about to get going. Like, it's that kind of thing. So if I'm James Harden, my focus is Joel, Tobias, and Maxey. First quarter, I'm trying to get 6 assists. I'm getting those boys the ball. And anything that I shoot is just going to be either something that has to be shot at the end of the shot clock if it comes to that, or a layup to get me to the line. I'm not shooting no threes, no step backs, no mid-range, none of that until I know that all of those guys are in a good rhythm. Simple as that. Simple as that. Because if you don't do that, they're going to be out of rhythm and you're going to find yourself down early again. Simple as that. He has to facilitate. All this talking about him launching 20 shots, not if it's going to take away possessions from that duty. On this roster, that's his responsibility. That is what he needs to do. He needs to be Ben Simmons, believe it or not, for the Philadelphia 76ers. Passing. Offensive side, passing, getting people to going. So, I'm going to swing back to Max Strus because he had found his efficiency in the last game, and it really was why I think they ultimately got off to a big lead. He had been inefficient for the last several games before that. 3 of 11 from behind the 3 in game 4. They need Max Strus to not only show up on the defensive side when she's very consistent, but he has to be able to make shots and be aggressive in doing so. He can't be 1 for 10, and he certainly can't be 2 for 3. He has to find that balance, and he has to be efficient. He's one of the most important role players on this Heat, and I believe as long as he's playing great, they have a chance to win every game they're in, no matter who they're playing against. But if he's playing poorly, it's the opposite, no matter who they're against, because they rely on him too much defensively for him to be on the floor bricking all the time. He don't do enough in other areas. He has to be good at the things that he does. So that's what I've noticed. The margin for error for him actually isn't very wide. They tend to sway with him. Gabe Vincent starting to pick it up again. He's shooting well. He's been good all series long, actually. I've kind of mentioned his name a little more in negative light in terms of just being one of the others, but actually I've liked a lot of what I've seen from him. He only had one game where he went like 0 for 7 or something like that. Other than that, he's pretty consistent, and he does a lot on the defensive end. Duncan Robinson obviously needs to be played. He played a little bit in the last game, hit a 3. That's cool, but you need to rely on him more if you start having issues from behind the arc, because we know that's Miami's issue. They can't seem to defend the arc, and they can't seem to shoot it. Even though they have Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and so on and so forth, they should be better. Tyler Hero's been a little inconsistent lately after starting off the series very well. As long as he's efficient and doing what it is that he does, which is come in off the bench and just obliterate teams, he really is the cherry on top for the Heat every night. As long as he's feeling good, it don't really matter what the score is. You put him in, he gonna cut into it or raise the lead. I mean, it's just, he's a luxury and a necessity all in one, because you need him to close, but you also kind of need what he brings off the bench to give you that punch. So, yeah, one of the more important players, obviously. Let's see. Jimmy Butler, of course, you're going to see him do everything. For him, it's just not falling in love with the three-point shot, because he's not a good three-point shooter. He just shoots like he's a good three-point shooter, but the numbers tell you he probably shouldn't be shooting as much. But he's going to attack in the mid-range. He's going to get to the line. He's going to play defense and make up for it no matter what. I just prefer him shoot under 8 three-point shots a game. I really do. And I know that sounds like a lot, but when you consider he may launch 11, 10 of them, like, yeah, he needs to kind of make those possessions count more, in my opinion. And on the Philly side of things, of course, they're playing with their backs against the wall. Joel is still dealing with these ailments. If he's continuing to struggle with the mental aspect of these ailments, it's going to affect him defensively and offensively, and they won't win the game. He's going to have to overcome it, and the uphill battle of that is so strong. You know, that's one of the things that I said about that last game. I wasn't really even disappointed mostly watching that game. It was more so just fatigued. I was watching them and feeling the burden of their uphill battle ahead, and that kind of is how I feel right now. You know, I do think the Miami Heat are going to struggle on the road, but I also think if the Miami Heat pounce on top of the Philadelphia 76ers and get off to a huge lead, they're not coming back. You know, you just got to look at what they're dealing with. They got a lot of injuries that they're considering with their big fella. Their bench, as we said, is a struggle. They don't really have all of their horses, you know, to make them a full basketball team right now. And you know, no matter what, no matter how this particular game goes, Joel Embiid has to wake up in the morning and deal with the fact that he needs surgery on his hand and that his face is going to need that mask at all times. And every time he get hit in it, it's going to hurt just like it did last time. And every time someone swipes at that hand, it's going to be a problem, maybe even making that tear worse, making it so that he has to play less basketball next season in recovery for it. I mean, he has to think about these things. And it's important that he doesn't think about these things in order for him to be himself. And then he's going up against Bam, who's, you know, making the adjustments to defend him better. So it's a really tough battle tonight. I'm going to pick the Sixers to win it, even though it's against my better judgment based on all of this I'm talking about. But I think at the end of the day, they've shown that they can do it. I mean, not necessarily do it, but they're living in this space and they're finding ways to win. They got blown out in the last game, so maybe that is it. But they won the game before that, so maybe it is not. At the end of the day, they're not the most talented team, but I also thought that they overachieved quite a bit in Toronto's series. I don't think they should have won that series at all. I still don't think they're better than Toronto's, but they played better than Toronto. They overachieved, they overcame, they worked together. And I think that's what's going to get them the victory tonight. They have to get more assists than the Miami Heat. They got to work together. You know what I'm saying? They have to rebound the basketball together. They have to play team defense. They got to stay out of foul trouble. They got to play well. You're at home, you know? So I would expect guys like Georges Niang to feel real good from behind the arc. I expect Shake Milton to hit a couple shots. I expect Furkan Korkmaz to come in and hit a shot or two. You're in your gym. And that's why I'm I'm leaning on y'all to win. But, Miami came off that blowout. They're a proud team. They've been to the finals. And they know how to close you out. And I thought Golden State know how to close people out too. And we saw that win. So I'm not rolling with that. But, it stands to reason why they should be having some confidence this evening that they'll do their job. So, we'll see what happens. My confidence in my own predictions are at a 0 right now because it's too unpredictable for me at this point. But, I'll give you predictions just in general. But the reality is, it's a flip of the coin right now. You don't know what you're going to get out of either one of these squads. And one thing you're certain is that if Miami wins, they move on. That's all I'm certain of. So I'm excited to see what happens. If it's a blowout, we'll bash them. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll get ready for Game 7. My name is BDO44. Thank you all for watching.